Welcome to the second presentation in our dispute resolution series. This presentation is part of a collaboration of presentations with the South Carolina Department of Education's Office of Special Education Services, Disability Rights South Carolina, Family Connection South Carolina, ABLE South Carolina, and the Family Resource Center for Disabilities and Special Needs. The information in this presentation is meant for South Carolina residents. My name is Amanda Hess, and I am an attorney with Disability Rights South Carolina. I use she, her pronouns. The title of this presentation is IEP Team Disagreements. Visual description. There is a diverse array of decorative pictures of children with varying ages, ethnicities, and disabilities throughout the presentation. The objectives for this presentation are to learn some tips to try to avoid an IEP meeting breakdown, tips if a breakdown occurs at an IEP meeting, and informal approaches to try to address special education disputes in South Carolina. We will start by discussing tips for avoiding an IEP team meeting breakdown. Tips for parent advocacy are addressed in the first presentation of this series. It is very important for parents and guardians to be aware of their rights to participate in the IEP process. Under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, also known as IDEA, parents are required members of their child's IEP team. School districts must take steps to ensure that parents have the opportunity to participate at IEP meetings. So school districts must notify parents early enough to schedule IEP meetings at an agreed upon time and place. Review the notice of the meeting carefully. It should include the purpose of the meeting, along with the time and location of the meeting, and who is expected to attend the meeting, which is usually done by listing the individual's position. It is okay to let a school district know if a proposed date won't work for you, so you can work with the district to find a date that you can attend. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for parents to attend IEP meetings. Decisions about special education and related services are being made at these meetings, and this is your opportunity to share input about your child and be involved in those decisions. Districts should work with the parent on how the parent will participate in the meeting. Options could include meeting in person, participating virtually, or by phone. A district can call an IEP meeting, and a parent can also request to have an IEP meeting. Do not ignore meeting requests that are sent from the district. If the district's attempts to invite a parent to an IEP meeting have gone unanswered, then it is possible the district could go ahead and have the IEP meeting and make decisions without the parent there. Keep in mind that school districts also need to ensure that parents understand IEP meetings, including arranging for an interpreter if needed. Let your district contact know if you need any accommodations at the IEP meeting. Here are some general advocacy tips before we move on to tips to prepare for the IEP meeting. Use the 4 P's: preparation, politeness, patience, and persistence. These can be so helpful in trying to avoid a breakdown of the relationship between you, the IEP team, and school district. Preparation. Make time to prepare yourself for the IEP meeting. Review your child's IEP, jot down your thoughts and questions you have. Politeness. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of politeness. A please and a thank you can go a long way. From the standpoint of advocacy, it is a strategy. You are going to get a lot further by trying to maintain the relationship between you and the school district. Patience. Keep in mind that sometimes this process can take time. For instance, if a new intervention is being tried, it may need time for data to be collected on it to determine if it is effective. Persistence. If at first you don't succeed, try again. For instance, if you requested a service at a meeting and the district didn't agree, would bringing in more information or collecting more data be useful? Another tip is to educate yourself. An aspect of effective advocacy is preparation and educating yourself. For instance, webinars and training like this can help you to learn information and tips that you can use. Being knowledgeable about your child's special education rights will help make you an effective advocate. Also, being aware of resources in your community and online that can increase your knowledge of this area or assist you. One of the most important tips is to be aware of your emotions. Effective advocacy is also about recognizing when a situation has become escalated and having strategies to maintain your composure. Do not interact with the district when you are upset. For instance, it is easy to send off a heated email when upset, but that is unlikely to be received well by the district and put something in writing that you may not have meant. It is okay to take a break to calm yourself so you can better convey your thoughts to the school district. Another tip is to maintain your special education documents. There are many ways of doing this, and find one that will be effective for you. For instance, we have seen documents electronically stored, filed in binders, and put into boxes. Suppose you had a concern about repeated goals or lack of progress. Keeping old IEPs and progress reports can help you review that concern. Keep important emails. Document important conversations. For instance, if you had an important conversation with the special education director, you could send a follow-up email confirming that conversation. Here are some tips to think about when preparing for an IEP meeting. Review records. For instance, review the most recent IEP, progress reports, and communications from the school district. You should be receiving progress reports periodically according to your child's IEP. This is an important report that describes your child's progress toward meeting their IEP goals. Anything you don't understand or have questions about, make a note for yourself to discuss at the IEP meeting. Request a copy of a draft IEP before the IEP meeting if available. Some districts do this. Draft IEPs are okay as long as the draft is subject to change. Put notes on it of anything you want to discuss, are unsure of, or have questions about. Be prepared and organized. These go hand in hand. Do you know the purpose of the IEP meeting? Do you need any information to help you prepare for the meeting? Are there items that you want to address at the IEP meeting? If there are items you want to address, it can be helpful to let the district know before the meeting, so they can be prepared to discuss from appropriate district staff at the meeting. You may want to ask if there will be a meeting agenda, so you can add items to it you want to discuss. A helpful tip is to take notes to bring into the meeting. This can help you stay on task and make sure your questions, concerns, and input are shared. Finally, do you have any outside information you want to share at the meeting, such as a private evaluation or private provider information and/or recommendations? Some tips we already discussed are also helpful in the IEP meeting. For instance, the same P's apply: preparation, politeness, patience, and persistence. Use them at the meeting. A helpful tip is to listen carefully and take notes. It is important to listen to what is being discussed and take notes. You can use your notes to compare them to the prior written notice if you have attended a meeting that results in the need for one. You can let the school district know if you have any concerns about the prior written notice. If meeting notes were taken, then ask for a copy and review them for accuracy. Do not hesitate to ask questions at the IEP meeting. This will help you understand what is being proposed, unfamiliar concepts, clarity on issues of concern, evaluation results, etc. We discussed parent participation earlier. The parent is a required member of the IEP team, and the IEP meeting gives you an opportunity to participate and to share your input, information, and suggestions about your child. A very important tip is to recognize if you need a break during the meeting. Try not to let a meeting get heated if you can help it by taking a break, getting a drink of water, getting some air, calling a trusted resource. Watch your behavior in the meeting and don't let it get personal. This can take the focus off your child and derail a meeting. We are now going to discuss what you can do if there is an IEP team breakdown. It is possible that you may not come to an agreement with the school district, or a district may not agree with your proposal. There is no majority vote at IEP meetings. It comes down to the consensus of the team, and a parent does not have veto power. Parents have options and rights outside of the meeting when there is a disagreement. We are going to review some tips if there is a breakdown at the IEP meeting. You could ask the district to adjourn the meeting so you all can regroup. Do not leave the meeting before it is over. This is a difficult situation, but if you leave the meeting without it being adjourned, a district could continue the meeting and make decisions without you. Let the team know about your disagreement, and you don't have to sign and consent to what you do not agree with. Make sure you get a copy of the documents from the meeting, including the prior written notice. The district can go forward with the plan even if you disagree, which is why it is helpful to become familiar with options to address disagreement. I've mentioned prior written notice in this presentation, and I wanted to provide some more information on prior written notice, also known as PWN, because it is a very important document in special education. A PWN is a written notice the school district must provide to the parent of a child with an IEP whenever the district proposes to initiate, change, or refuse to initiate or change the identification, evaluation, educational placement, or provision of free appropriate public education, also known as FAPE, of a child. A PWN should include a description of the action proposed or refused, an explanation of the reason for the proposal or refusal, other options considered, the information used, and other relevant factors for the proposal or refusal. The PWN should be written in an understandable language. It should be provided in the parent's native language. Resources are listed on the PWN that can help parents understand special education. A common misunderstanding is that this notice should be provided before the meeting. Because it discusses decisions made at an IEP meeting, a PWN is provided to the parent after the meeting, but before the change takes place. This is to give parents time to consider the change before it is implemented by the school district. More information about PWN can be found on Disability Rights South Carolina's Education Resources website, which can be found on the resources slide near the end of this presentation. Now we are going to discuss informal ways you can try if a special education dispute arises in South Carolina. Some positives of trying informal approaches to IEP disputes is that when they solve a problem, it is usually a quicker, less adversarial approach. Also, if you don't plan on moving, you may be working with this school district for a while, and this could help to maintain relationships. Over the next few slides, we are going to discuss each of these informal approaches, which are contact the school district's special education department, requesting an IEP meeting, requesting an evaluation, independent educational evaluation, also known as IEE, contact the OSES ombudsperson, and request a facilitated IEP meeting. These are approaches that we have suggested to parents and have used in our advocacy. This list is not exhaustive. There could certainly be other informal ways to address special education concerns. We often suggest a parent try contacting the school district's special education department about IEP concerns. Sometimes having a conversation one-on-one can be easier when not in a group setting. Additionally, a special education director or coordinator over a school may not be aware of the special education concerns. We do suggest you document this conversation for your records. Another suggestion is to ask for an IEP meeting. IDEA requires one annual review IEP meeting a year, but keep in mind that a parent or a school district can also request an IEP meeting. In some places, we have heard these referred to as special review meetings. As we discussed earlier, IEP meetings should be scheduled at a mutually agreed upon time and place. Having another IEP meeting could be helpful to discuss concerns that have arisen, to discuss new information or data, to check on progress, or for a number of other reasons. Would it be helpful to have more information, or is more information needed in a certain area, like academics, functional performance, the student's needs, strengths, weaknesses, to try to address a concern about the student? Has the student shown regression in a certain area, like academics or behavior? Then something that may help the team have more information to consider is requesting an evaluation in the area of need or concern. This would be an evaluation done by the school district and could result in providing more information for the IEP team to consider to address any concerns that have been raised. The example on this slide is asking for a functional behavioral assessment when there are behaviors impacting a student's learning. In the prior slide, we discussed evaluations done by the school district. An independent educational evaluation, also known as an IEE, is done by an independent qualified examiner, not connected to the school district. We are going to discuss two types of independent evaluations. One type is the parent obtaining an independent evaluation at their own expense. This can be done anytime and is not connected to the IEP process. This could provide a parent with an outside perspective if there are concerns. The parent can decide if this information will be shared with the IEP team. If the parent decides to share it, the IEP team has to consider the information and any recommendations, but ultimately decisions about IEP services are IEP team decisions. A parent can also invite anyone familiar with the child to an IEP meeting, including an outside provider to share input with the IEP team. The other type of independent evaluation I am going to discuss is the parent requesting an independent educational evaluation at public expense if the parent disagrees with a school district evaluation. This is also known as an IEE at public expense. A parent can ask for one IEE each time a district does an evaluation that the parent is concerned about. It could be for a full evaluation, a transition evaluation, a functional behavior assessment, speech evaluation, etc. Once the request is made, the district must provide the IEE or request due process to show that their evaluation was appropriate. If the school district is going to provide the IEE, the district then provides information to the parent on where to obtain an IEE and the criteria the school district uses for an evaluation. With an IEE, the IEP team has to consider the information and any recommendations, but ultimately decisions about IEP services are IEP team decisions. I'm going to briefly note that in South Carolina, we have an ombudsperson specifically in the South Carolina Department of Education's Office of Special Education Services, the OSES on this slide, that parents can contact when there are special education concerns. The OSES ombudsperson is impartial and may assist in communication, offer referral information, share dispute resolution information, and may answer general special education questions. I am not going to go into further detail about the OSES ombudsperson because this will be discussed in the third presentation of the series. The last area I'm going to briefly note is the Facilitated IEP Meeting option in South Carolina, also known as FIEP Meeting. This is a free and voluntary option that can be used for any IEP meeting. It can be useful when the IEP team communication has broken down and/or there are unresolved IEP concerns. Both the parent and school district have to agree to have an FIEP. It is requested through the South Carolina Department of Education's Office of Special Education Services and is coordinated by the Office of Special Education Services Ombudsperson. It is a typical IEP meeting with an independent, trained facilitator. I'm not going to go into further detail about this option because it will be discussed in the third presentation of this series. I encourage you to review that presentation. This slide provides some resources that can be found on the internet. This slide provides website information for Disability Rights South Carolina's Education Resources, which is www.disabilityrightsresources.org/resources/education/. As I mentioned earlier, you can find more information on prior written notice on this website. Family Connection of South Carolina is our state's current parent training information center. Its website is https://www.familymilonc.org/education/. South Carolina Department of Education's Office of Special Education's Parent Resources website can be found at https://special-education-services/parent-resources/. This slide provides some more resources that can be found on the internet. This slide provides website information for the Family Resource Center for Disabilities and Special Needs Resources page, which can be found at https://frcsn.org/resources/. The Family Resource Center is a parent training and resource center covering Charleston, Dorchester, and Berkeley counties in South Carolina. Wright's Law website has an advocacy section at www.wrightslaw.com/info/info/a D V O period I N D E X period H T M. I thank you for your time, and I hope you found this presentation helpful. This slide applies to Disability Rights South Carolina, which is also referred to as DRSC in this presentation. This presentation provides general information not intended to be legal advice. The information was based on the law at the time it was written. As the law may change, please contact DRSC for updates. This presentation is funded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Administration for Community Living, and the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, and by the U.S. Department of Education, Rehabilitation Services Administration. It does not necessarily represent the official views of the funding authorities. The views expressed are solely those of DRSC.